Hello, friends. We are very happy to see all of you here today. And let's make this webinar very energizing and very interactive. And I want to ask you, please use this chance, ask all your questions and improve your skills. And we will be very happy to help you with this. As André already said, our today's topic of the webinar is McKinsey second round interview simulation plus 3 parts. And this webinar will be by our consultant masters, by chief career coaches André Homulenko and Gaurav Bhosle. And so let's start our show. The objectives of today's webinar is that firstly I will tell you about our rules. We will make a small introduction. Then we will start our main part as interactive case interview simulation. There you can see the whole process of the cases and how to solve them, and you will be able to hear the feedback from André and Gaurav, and as well as share your feedback with us and ask all your questions during the Q&A session. Then we will share with you next steps, how you can start or continue your preparation for the case interview. And those who will stay with us till the end will receive bonus materials and other goodies. Yeah, so the format of our webinars, we are going to make it approximately 2 hours. We will make, as I said, a small introduction, interview simulation, feedback and Q&A session, and next steps. And I just want to ask you, please mute till the end, unless you're asked to speak by me, so we will not hear any noises. Then you can ask all the questions in the chat. When you want to ask a question, please use this sign with André, Gaurav, Ahmad or Amar to ask the question, and I will give you time for this in the Q&A session, so I will ask you to speak, and when I will ask, just please turn on your microphone and video and camera, introduce yourself briefly, give us your feedback and ask your question. Yeah, so let me briefly introduce our team for today's webinar. So my name is Alina, and I am the moderator of today's webinar, and I am a client manager at Consultant Masters. Let me introduce you one of our clients, Ahmad. Ahmad, can you please tell us briefly about yourself?
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmad Chamseddine, and I'm currently graduated from Imperial College Business School, where I did my master's in finance and accounting. And before joining Imperial, I was a student at the American University of Beirut, and currently pursuing training in order to get into the consulting field.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ahmad, a lot for your time today that you joined us. And our next client for today is Amar. Amar, can you please turn on your camera, microphone, and briefly introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me over. So my name is Amar. I'm a master's in finance student at London Business School. Prior to my LBS master's, I was working in Dubai as a strategy and investments analyst, and currently trying to break into consulting. So happy to be here.
Great. Thank you a lot, guys, that you joined us today. Let me introduce our coach and our expert, Gaurav. Gaurav, hello. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. So nice to see so many of you today, and thanks for coming. I hope you will learn a lot during this session. So my background, I'm an engineer by education. I've done a couple of startups in technology stint, and then did my MBA from HEC Paris. Went on to join McKinsey in Frankfurt, and went on to work with McKinsey in Asia, Africa, and in Europe. Okay. Since 2014, I've been full-time into career coaching and consulting readiness. I have around more than 500 clients joining some of these prestigious consulting companies. And I'm happy to be here and of any news for you, as you are preparing for some of these very nice stints with McKinsey, BCG, and all the other good consulting companies. And hoping to see you towards the end of the presentation. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Gaurav, a lot. And our next expert and career coach, André. André, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alina, for the kind words. I see here many new people, so I will therefore fully introduce myself. So my name is André Homulenko, and I'm a professional career coach and mentor. And our company, together with Gaurav, Bhosle, and all the entire team, Consulting Masters, we are helping students, MBAs, and young professionals to break into consulting to those leading consulting firms, and we do this for two reasons. In my case, this is due to the fact that I have been working in consulting for more than 6 years in different regions. I am born Ukrainian. I came as a foreigner without knowing German language to Germany, and it was a tough nut to crack. To crack the cases even in German, it's even more difficult than cracking them in English, what we're doing today with you. Gaurav is laughing because he used to work with McKinsey Frankfurt before, and he definitely knows what it is. So nevertheless, I mastered this challenge, and I was very privileged to have a very international career. So starting from my second project, which was preparing Russia for the Winter Sochi Olympics in 2014. I was very excited about the consulting career, and I've been working across Western Europe, across Central Europe, mainly Germany, Switzerland, where I was based, Eastern Europe, Russia, as well as I also spent a couple of years in the Middle East. This gave me an opportunity to be exposed to more than 30 projects in more than 10 countries and to really learn a lot. And I was also very privileged to do a very fast, steep career and progress in consulting world. And all this know-how combined with the expertise of Gaurav, together we share more than 12 years of experience in consulting, and we are happy to deliver you the value which will help you to gain the competitive edge and to help you to get those offers from the leading consulting companies worldwide. So and secondly, I have a true passion for coaching. I think that nowadays we have a great challenge with the COVID and with the pandemic, with all those interviews taking place online. So therefore, I know this from my own experience because I was applying in consulting post previous crisis, so post financial crisis in 2008, 2009, 2010. I know how tough it is nowadays to break through into consulting. Therefore, the whole team of Consulting Masters wants to serve you with this webinar and wants to give you a real chance to simulate the second interview round with McKinsey today with our expert Gaurav. So use this chance to experience how does the second interview round with McKinsey really looks like and feels like. So I would strongly encourage you to use this opportunity to crack this interview, this case together with us, and also ask as many questions as you only can. Be active in the chat so that we can have a great discussion moving forward. All right, so this is basically briefly about myself. So let's move on. And those of you who have been with our previous webinar 2 weeks ago, where we did the first interview round of McKinsey. Today we are doing the second interview round, as if the candidates from the last interview round have actually passed to the next level. So just before we move forward, I would like to briefly explain you what are the key differences between the first and the second interview round with McKinsey. So as you might feel, the McKinsey has a very selective approach. Well, for example, the old statistics in Germany would have said that McKinsey have received previously more than 12,000 applications, and out of 12,000 applications, there were only 200 job offerings. So as you might see, there are probably only 1.5% of people who actually make this from the applicant to receiving the contract. And every step is a kickoff criteria. So you need to pass every interview round to proceed. If you fail anything, then you basically step out of the process. So therefore, what is the key differences? The key difference between the first round and the second interview round? There are at least 5 key differences. So the first one is the seniority of your interviewers. If in the first round you would be dealing mostly with associates or engagement managers from McKinsey, so like from the middle level of the pyramid, then in the second round and beyond, you will be already dealing with more senior people who are working as principals, junior partners, or higher. Then, in terms of the cases or in terms of the materials which will be asked there, if in the first round there are some standardized solutions, like getting the case out of the shelf, which could be used several times, which is like a standard McKinsey case. Then moving to the second round, you will feel that they are more customized, that they are less scripted and becoming less structured. I mean, at the end or in the beginning of next month, we will also do McKinsey final interview round. This is when you will really feel the hit, what can expect you with McKinsey in your true interview. Then in terms of the material, while the first interview round is pretty broad, then the second interview round is going more into depth. And then this also means that typically 30% of the time could be spent on the PEI question, like on the personal fit part in the first round. In the second round, people are really drilling down and getting into more details and spending more time on this. Yeah, and then from the typical case topics, this could be either profitability or market entry or some market sizing in the first interview round. But then in the second interview round, the cases become a little bit more complicated with M&A, public sector cases, or maybe some of the recent developments like COVID-related cases. So this is pretty much about it. And let's basically go to the business directly. So today, we actually have 2 our great candidates. This is Ahmad and Amar playing our candidates for McKinsey. So before we actually go with them and start the interview, so what will happen right now, I will basically ask everyone to mute yourself and to turn off your camera so that only Ahmad and Amar and Gaurav are speaking. You will be observing how those interviews have been contained. I will be listening very carefully and taking my notes to provide the feedback. I would also strongly encourage you to take your notes and to provide the feedback and also ask your questions at the during the case or during the interview. So please use the chat function to put all your questions. After the case interview simulation, we will be having our Q&A session where we will basically go one by one through your questions. And I would kindly request you also to provide some of the feedback to our greatest candidates.
Great. So, Amar, Ahmad, welcome to McKinsey. Yeah. Thanks for showing up for the second round. Shall we start?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Great. Let's get into the business. I'm going to ask you some questions to understand your fitment with McKinsey. I think both of you are from the Middle East region, so you can imagine that you are applying for your respective office, yeah, and you can answer one by one. Okay. So let's start. Amar, why should McKinsey hire you?
Do I speak now? Or is it Ahmad?
Anyone?
Okay.
You can go forward, Amar.
All right. So thank you for inviting me over. I'm really excited for this, Gaurav. So in terms of why McKinsey should hire me, I want to give you a bit of background about myself. So currently I'm a master's student and I have a finance background prior to my master's experience. Within my previous role, I was a strategy and investment analyst. I was focusing on fund sourcing, navigating business strategy, as well as looking into finance and operations within the education portfolio for a large conglomerate. Towards the end of my tenure, I realized that I have a strong passion for strategy. What I genuinely love about this role is I love planning, analyzing, and actioning plans for growth and improvement for business organizations. And this is something that I've realized is my true passion from a very long time. So what I'd like to focus on is, in terms of my strengths, I would want to focus on what I think are the key factors that I bring onto the table. One is my communication skills. I believe I have very concise and very to the point communication skills. I'm very much able to convey my point across the other party in a friendly manner, so as to ensure that they are comfortable with the point, as well as they understand the rationale behind it. So my communication skills is something that I bring onto the table. The second one I want to focus on is my problem-solving mentality. All throughout my professional career, I've been able to nurture a sort of problem-solving mindset, which I think is extremely crucial for consulting, and something that I think will help me cross the 9-yard. The last thing I want to focus on is my ability to do my quantitative ability. I have a strong quantitative mindset, which I think is very important for the profession, and something that I believe I can act as a USP in terms of helping clients. So in a nutshell, these are the 3 points that I want to focus on.
Okay, Ahmad?
All right. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for your question. And thank you so much for having me today for the second round of interviews. So in order to answer this question, I would like to focus on two key things. One of the academic background of myself and how I'll actually fit into McKinsey. So let me tell you a little bit about my academic background. So I come from a finance background where I did my master's degree at Imperial College. And during my time, I was an equity research analyst where I conducted in-depth equity analysis for which stocks to invest in our portfolio. So that shows my strength in quantitative skills and analytical skills and strategic decisions. And while I was at the American University of Beirut, I did my finance degree there, and I took a strategic management course where I has been recognized as the best student in class by my professor and colleagues due to my extraordinary performance in strategic management, case analysis, and teamwork. So I believe that those skills are mandatory for any business-related job. However, what actually differs me from others is my attitude and my personality. So I'm a very diverse person since I have traveled all around Europe, and I always team up with colleagues from different backgrounds. I am also eager and continuously seeking to improve myself. And I think that McKinsey value this a lot.
Let me go to the next question. Can you share an instance when you demonstrated entrepreneurial spirit?
So there was one time where we had a project at my university at AUB. It was a project where we had to come up with solutions and get a competitive edge over our competitors. And my team members weren't that curious and eager to get the best result in my team. So I had to tell my team that we need to do it as much as possible and the best way possible, because this will affect our grades. So I was boosting their mentality and their motivation in order to get the job done and be the best team in the class. So I have led my team to actually work together and collaborate together in order to improve our performance and get the job done.
How is it entrepreneurial, Amar?
Excuse me?
How is this entrepreneurial?
In terms of leading this group, I felt that I was actually leading my team to deliver and telling them what we need to do step by step, so that they could actually deliver the task that they need to actually do.
Yeah, this is more from a team leadership perspective. Yeah, I don't think this is a appropriate story for entrepreneurship. There has to be a element of innovation. There has to be an element of identifying something which is not been identified by someone. Yeah? So some kind of opportunity, some kind of product. Yeah, there has to be an innovation element into it. Amar, you want to take a shot at this?
Absolutely. Before going in, I just want to give a small disclaimer. My answer is a bit longer, so it might take time, but bear with me. Feel free to interrupt me at any point. So thanks for the question. Just to reiterate, this is one of my favorite questions because it relates to a very close to heart project that I was working at in my previous role. So I'd like to talk about this incident where I opened up a store. I led the setup of a sports coaching company within my previous company. I was working within the education portfolio of a large conglomerate back in Dubai, UAE. In this role, so just to give you a bit of background on the situation, the group was looking to diversify its revenue channels. This was a group of K to 12 schools, a set of 3 K to 12 schools, and the group was looking to identify ways to diversify its revenue channels. One of the ways that we identified was to run a pilot program wherein we would lease the facilities of the school, let's say the football field or the cricket field, to outside parties through a third-party company. I was responsible for leading the team, but unfortunately, it did not come out as feasible as we had planned, so it got shut down. Once it got shut down, I realized that I felt a very growing urge that I wanted to do something in this area. And I realized that there is a good scope for setting up a sports coaching company. Let me explain why this was important. Within the portfolio of 3 schools that we had a lot of facilities within the school, which could be leased out to other parties. Or what the other way I thought about is what we could have done is we can set up coaching institutes within the company, perhaps hire some coaches from other backgrounds and request them to start coaching students. These students can be within the school as well as from other schools as well, from the neighboring catchment areas. I thought that there were 2 benefits to this. The first benefit was that I would be able to boost the revenue sources. The second benefit was I would be able to build relations with new parents or new students to come into the school and probably have a look at our state-of-the-art facilities and perhaps enroll to the school. So this was my objective. Let me explain how I went about it. The first thing I did was I started putting up a list of all the facilities within the school that we had. It could be swimming pools, it was table tennis courts, basketball courts, everything. I started putting down the list. I started coordinating with the physical education teacher there as well as my facility management team. And I started putting down the list. Once I had the list, the next thing what I did was I started looking out for companies within the market. Let's say for football, there was the La Liga Academy. For cricket, there was the ICC Academy. There were a lot of competitors for several of these sports. So what I did was I started striking down all of the sports for which there were a lot of competitors, and I narrowed down the list. The next thing what I did was I started pulling out a list of all the students from within our schools who were interested in taking up one or more of these sports. So the sports that I thought were most popular amongst the students were rugby, football, rugby, swimming, as well as tennis coaching. These were the three sports that I thought I could go about it. What I did was I picked up the phone. I started calling up a few of these competitors within the region, try to understand what do they offer, what pricing do they offer, and what are the things where do these guys offer it. Once I had a feel of the market, I realized that there was a real gap in the market for swimming as well as tennis. Rugby was another sport that I was quite interested in, but I felt that the demand from the outside market was not relevant enough. So I decided that I would focus my approach within these two sectors, within these two sports. Then once I did this, I started started approaching a lot of coaches within the region. I was back into fitness back then, and I used to visit a couple of gyms. I had some contacts within gyms, so I started reaching out to people through LinkedIn, through my gym, coaches, fitness coaches, as well as sports coaches who would be able to provide a network that I can get in touch with. I also leveraged my physical PE teacher within the school so that he could use his contacts. Once I got to speak to many of these coaches, I realized that a lot of them are open to a freelance model. I wouldn't exactly have to hire many of these people, and a freelance model made a lot of sense. Now, this is important because I did realize that my previous pilot project did get shut down because it simply wasn't feasible. The cost simply rose above our expectations. So I was very sure that I needed to keep this within a set budget. What I did next was once I understood the cost drivers within each of the sport, I set up a small business plan and showed this to management. Once I showed this to the management, I realized I also conveyed to them that we had a growing in demand within our school. We had around 100 students from within our school base that we could target who were very interested in taking up this. And so this seemed very attractive. So once the management gave me the go ahead, I realized that it's time to go ahead. And within 9 months, this project took off, and I can proudly say that within a span of 9 months, I had 55 students enrolled within the school, and we achieved revenues close to 500,000 within the first 9 months. It was a pretty successful project and something I'm very proud about. So that's the story I'd like to narrate.
Very good. So what was the main challenge in this entire pursuit?
The main challenge, I would say, was keeping the costs in check. What happens a lot of the cases, especially this is some learning from my previous project as well. A lot of the cases, revenues, what we expect we simply are not able to meet our revenue targets, and what happens is the costs simply shoot up. So one of the key challenges that I had to face was convincing some of these coaches to be fine with a sort of freelance model. A key challenge here I'd like to reiterate is many of these coaches were open to it, but the best coaches, the ones that we really wanted to hire, wanted a full-time role, something which was paying much higher with health benefits, insurance benefits. So I had to convince them that this was a feasible model, this was a scalable operating model, and I wanted to convey to them that hopefully that once this business takes off, I want to convince them that they could absolutely come into the business, contribute on a much larger scale. But convincing them to come within a freelance model initially was sort of a challenge. But I think I executed it pretty well.
Absolutely. What if the coaches wouldn't have been convinced? What was your plan B?
My plan B was probably I would have started focusing a little. I would have done a little more market research, because what I soon realized is that within, let's say, if I had got 100 students from within my school, I wouldn't have been able to convince all 100 of them. These were the students who were interested, but not all of them were willing to join. And if I were to hire a few of these coaches, all of these coaches up front, I think it wouldn't have been a very feasible model. So the first thing what I would do is I would probably cut short the sport wherein I had the most operating costs. To give you an example, if I'm operating a swimming swimming institute, for example, there's a lot of cost with respect to I have to clean the water, I have to filter the water on a daily basis, perhaps twice daily. These coaches were far more experienced and they were far more expensive to hire. What I would have probably done is I would have focused on the tennis coach, for which I had quite a lot of students willing to do it, and I think I had a lot of I think there was a gap within the catchment area that I was targeting. So I would probably strike off swimming and focus on tennis. And within tennis, I think I would have been able to hire full-time coaches. So that's my approach, I would say.
Okay. And Amar, if you have to do this all over again, what is it that you will change in your approach?
That's a very good question. So I think what I would probably do is I would try to do, I think in hindsight, I feel I could have priced it a bit higher. What I did realize is we had very strong growth. So just to give you a background, most of these schools were premium schools as if parents were paying top of the market fees for these schools. Price was really not a focus. And I think I could have priced it a bit better, in the sense I could have priced it a bit higher on the, let's say, in the top quartile of the competitors, because for these parents, fees was not a factor. Factor was the state-of-the-art facilities, the state-of-the-art, so best coaches. So this was probably one. The pricing aspect is something, but it was good learning nevertheless.
Very good. Okay, cool. So we'll get into a case now. Yeah. André, do you want to quickly share any feedback on the fit?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Basically, I have the following information for you. Let's start with Omar. Let's start with Ahmad. I basically like the way you approached it into two manners, like why we should hire, why McKinsey, why we should hire you. The only thing which I was still missing is the convincing part. So you could have shown just not only your accomplishments. It's not about yourself. It's about the value you can deliver to McKinsey and its clients. So why out of 12,000 of candidates, we should hire exactly you? I mean, we speak to everyone from McKinsey, and all of them are brilliant guys. And if you were just great in one class, it doesn't mean anything. But if that is the skill which you can really apply in our future clients and deliver the value for our company and for our clients, this is really something tangible. So try to phrase it whenever you sell yourself to the company, try to speak not about your achievements as you're such a great individual, I'm pretty sure about it, but what kind of value you can actually create for the firm and for its clients. It's very essential. Then I think Gaurav have already provided you a short feedback on entrepreneurship. So for me, it actually sounded like you took a story, one of your stories which you have prepared so far, and you have actually just tried to change the meaning and sell it as an entrepreneurship story, while it wasn't supposed to be done like this. So probably you should have a couple of stories in your backlog, which you could also always pick up and through to the interview. All right. Does this make sense to you, Ahmad?
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Thank you. Amar, yeah. So you have actually told me at the very beginning, or you have told the interviewer that one of your strengths is communication, and particularly concise, up to the point communication. Are you still sure about this statement?
I'd like to retract that. But yeah, absolutely. I've got this feedback many times, and you're absolutely right.
Maybe not saying this explicitly, just at the very first question, would not have made this contrast such a big one, I would say. So I would definitely recommend you to apply the principles of the top-down communication. So whenever you was first asked by Gaurav, like, why should we hire you? You could say something very similar. Oh, thank you very much for this question, Gaurav. I'm so excited to be here. So I'm convinced that McKinsey should hire me for 3 reasons. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. And then you can speak about the first reason in more detail, the second reason in more detail, and the third reason in more detail. This would have given you better structure and phrasing it also in a more understandable way. Then the second story, entrepreneurship. I mean, I stopped counting the minutes. I think you have spoken for consequently more than 4 minutes. If I were an interviewer, I would give you the hard time. I would basically cut you off after 90 seconds that I see that you are not proceeding to the point. In fact, you lost me. I was not able to follow you. Maybe you were feeling yourself uncomfortable during that time and you felt some pressure, but this was just way too long. This was not that structured, or at least in your voice, I was not able to recognize a clear structure in that. I mean, you have told in the middle of the structure, like, you did this for 2 reasons, or there were 2 results. Result number 1, result number 2. This was like very good, but this was probably the structure of the 3rd layer, and the structure of the 2nd layer, so 1 layer up, was actually missing. And my recommendation for you would be that try to package, and Ahmad, this also applies to you and everyone else present in that webinar. Try to use a very simple structure, which is star plus L. Star plus L stays for description of the situation, description of your task or objective, description of your approach, of your results, and of your learning. So what have you learned? So you could have said, oh, entrepreneurship, Gaurav, I think I have a really very good story for you. So let me briefly explain you the situation, my task, my approach, the results, and what I have learned from this, and why I think that this is valuable. And then you start explaining your story, basically point by point, bucket by bucket. And then it's clear, then you say, okay, so the situation was blah, 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 blah. My task was blah, 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 blah. So that's why I decided to use the following approach. And you explain the approach, and this is how you communicate. And in this way, you would really become more concise and more up to the point.
Yeah.
Amar, does this make sense to you?
Absolutely, André. I'd love to thank you for the feedback, and I'm definitely going to work on that.
All right, cool. So Gaurav, stage is yours. Please continue.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple of points to the feedback. Yeah, so I do agree with André that both of you actually were not top down in any of your answers. Yeah, so it's extremely important that you be completely top down. Okay, so one liner and followed up by the details. Right. Now coming to the Amar story, yeah, Amar, it was not just too long, but there was no headline. Yeah, I was waiting for the result for 4 minutes. Yeah, had I not, the only reason I made you continue because the story was relevant. It was entrepreneurial. I wanted the group to understand what is an entrepreneurial story topic is. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, more than 3 minutes, 2 minutes, yeah, I'd say it's too much. And that too, now you will realize the importance of headline. If you start knowing that your story is a little bit longish, you should have in fact made more attempt to have a headline that I would like to share with you a story where I did this, which resulted in that. Yeah, one liner, right? It's like an issue tree, and then detail. Okay, I think someone in the chat just prompted, right, whether the first cut answer should be 2-3 minutes. and how come this is so long. So exactly the point. Yeah, the first cut answer. Yeah, you would have heard a lot of places that in McKinsey PEI, especially second round, they talk about like 20 minutes on one question. Don't be under impression that means I ask one question and Amar or Ahmad speaks for 20 minutes. That's not the way it works. The way it works is they give me 2-3 minute crisp answer and I probe, and then there is an interaction. And this interaction sometimes goes to 15-20 minutes. So inculcate a habit of preparing answers in layers. Yeah, pyramid principles always talk about what, why, and how. Start with what, sprinkle some why, and if it is probed, if and when, then only give how. If you put all the how in the answer, it becomes a bedtime story, and I'll sleep off. Yeah, like you lost André, yeah, you would have lost other people as well, right? So 3 minute max, start with a headline, keep it very crisp, and respond with details when the interviewer probes more. Yeah, that's the executive communication, top down communication or pyramid principles. Follow that ruthlessly. Ready? I'll just read it out, though it's in front of your screen. So, your client, Lotus Corporation, is a leading provider of non-life insurance. Basically, the insurance providers which predominantly work on health, car, property side of the insurance. Yeah, and they are the leading provider in their state. I think there's some misconnection somewhere. Okay, the company has 40% market share in the state where they operate. Lotus Management is scouting for growth opportunities currently. They also contemplated expanding in other states, but the management decided against it, considering that their expertise lies actually in the state. Another route they are thinking about is expanding the presence in the value chain, acquiring a hospital in the state. They are contemplating if it is a good idea to acquire the state's biggest hospital, Medicare. Now, they have hired McKinsey, and you guys are on the team, to help them decide if this acquisition is a good idea.
Shall I start?
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Gaurav, so much for this interesting case. So our client is Lotus Corporation, who is a non-life insurance provider, and he wants to grow, and he wants us to investigate whether it should be a good idea to acquire the biggest hospital, which is Medicare.
Right.
Should I be aware of any other objectives? And is that correct?
Should I be aware of what? Can you say that again?
Any other objectives?
What do you mean by other objectives?
Like in terms of KPIs, targets, what do they want to actually achieve?
Sure, absolutely. So the objective, or I would say a better word is success criteria, is that they feel the deal is a good deal if they can have an ROI, return on investment, of 30% within the first 3 years.
Okay, thank you for this information, Gaurav. I do have some clarifying question about our client, actually, if you may.
Absolutely.
So first, I want to understand why they want to acquire the biggest hospital, not the second biggest, for example.
We don't know that.
Okay. Another question would be how this company actually work in terms of business model. So I understand they provide non-life insurance, like car, property, and other things. And so I want to understand how does this actually work and how the hospital could help us by achieving our goals. If you do have any idea.
Okay, so it's a standard insurance company which sells insurance, and one of the biggest in non-life is health. Yeah. So increasing the value chain means, of course, the handshake point of an insurance provider in the value chain is hospital, because ultimately the insurance get paid to someone who is hospitalized, right? So there is a direct connect over there. Yeah. That's why they are talking about expanding the value chain.
Okay, so I can say from now, if the acquisition of Medicare can allow us to obtain an ROI of 30% within the first 3 years, and it can give us a non-financial sense of acquiring this company, I would suggest that the company should go forward. So in order to test this, we need to think about some factors that could affect the acquisition.
Wait, yeah, absolutely. Let's not go to the structure yet. Let me just go to Amar and understand whether he has more clarification questions.
Yeah, thank you for that, Gaurav and Ahmed. I think Ahmed, I don't think there's any need to reiterate. What I would want to understand is, you said the company is looking to grow for growth opportunities. Can I understand? Now, you did mention that they're trying to increase the value chain by acquiring the hospital. But is there any understanding as to are they actually trying to simply grow the revenue, simply grow the profit? Is there any rationale behind that aspect?
We don't have specifics, but yeah, they want to grow the revenue.
Revenue, great.
Yeah.
No, I think that's helpful. So I think I have all the information. Do you think if could I take a moment to structure my thoughts?
Absolutely.
Yeah. In order to tackle our issue here, I would suggest to divide our case into 4 main buckets. The first one would be the market. The second one would be the target, which is Medicare. The third one would be our client Lotus, and the fourth one would be the risks. In my first bucket, I would like to understand.
The fourth one, rest.
Yes, risks. And the first one, I would like to understand the market where Medicare operates in terms of size, growth rates, and trends. I would like to see also the number of competitors, the power of suppliers and buyers in order to see the rivalry among these competitors. I would like also to see what's our competitive advantage compared to other competitors. And if we do actually enter this market, how will the competition respond? And if we do have any data regarding any previous M&A, and if it was successful in the past. Second, I would like to move into the target in order to assess its financial and non-financial aspects. From the financial part, I would like to see the value of the company on a standalone basis and value the synergies that could be obtained from this M&A. From a non-financial part, I would like to look into the management team in terms of expertise and the capabilities and the culture of this company, if it actually mesh well with our current culture. My third bucket will be our client, where I would look into how much our client is willing to pay for such an acquisition and what are his financial capabilities and any budget in their head, and the type of financing they are looking for. Since I do know that the type of financing might affect the value of both firms if it's not financed properly. From a non-financial part, I would like to dig into the capabilities, expertise, and the culture to see whether Lotus could actually operate this kind of business since it is new in their value chain, or whether they should decide to keep the management of Medicare and just buy it on a standalone basis. And the risks will be associated with my findings based on the previous buckets. Does this sound good for you?
What would you put in the rest?
The risks will be, we'll tackle the risk whenever we find, based on the findings we found in the buckets.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Amar.
Thank you for the case, Gaurav. So what I've done is I've divided the case into 3 buckets, and I'd like to walk you through that. The 3 buckets are: 1, strategic alignment; 2nd, financial feasibility; and the 3rd is capabilities. Within the first bucket, which is strategic alignment, I would want to test 2 items. 1, is the market attractive enough? Second, I would want to test out the industry. What are the other competitors out there?
Which market is attractive?
Whether the healthcare market, yes.
No, but is it the provider or payer? So hospital market are you talking about, or insurance market?
The hospital market.
Hospital market.
Hospital market, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The second one I'd want to target here is how is the competitive industry out there? How many hospitals are there, and is it a consolidated market? Is it quite fragmented in terms of many small clinics? So that's what I would want to explore there. Within the second bucket, which is financial feasibility, the things I'd want to understand is what is the expected incremental revenue. The second, I'd want to assess what is the expected incremental cost. And the third one, I'd want to understand what is the investment cost that I'd have to take up. The third bucket is the capabilities. I would want to test out two factors. One, do I have the financial capability? And the second one, do I have the technical capability? Within financial capability, it basically means, can I undertake the investment cost? And if so, do I have a backup of invest? So that's the first one. The second one, technical capabilities. Do I actually have the operational expertise of running hospitals? Or so that's something I would want to test out. And unless you have any specific questions, I'd like to start out with the strategic alignment.
Okay, good attempt by both of you. André, do you have any quick feedback so far?
No, not specifically. You can actually either provide feedback or move on with the case. I think in terms of the clarifying questions, there was a good sum of questions in order to specify the objectives and the structures. If you combine basically the structure of Ahmad and Amar, there are the components which will allow you to crack this case.
Okay, so I'll just provide quick feedback, so that we can quickly move forward and be very targeted. Okay, so starting with Ahmad. Ahmad, I think your structure from an exhaustiveness perspective looks good. Yeah, so good to see that you have also spoken about the culture and the integration related points as well. Yeah, a couple of points that I would like to kind of give you input on is the risk as a bucket, especially in the second round. Yeah, is not a good bucket. Okay, so this is almost like you are yourself being risk averse. Anything comes to me, I'll dump it over there. I don't know what exactly it is going to be. Yeah, so this is not an actionable framework. And risk, just imagine that work stream risk. Whoever work on that, what is he going to work on? Yeah, so this kind of floating branches, please don't introduce. Especially in second round, it is not going to work on that. Now, market. Okay, both of you introduced and have given a lot of emphasis on market, right? See, this is not a market entry case, it's an M&A case. Every case has its heart in the core branches. In M&A case, the heart is about target. Okay, because can you imagine that the hospital market can be not that attractive, but that individual asset, that particular hospital can be attractive. Right? The way we divide the types of cases into diagnostic and strategic initiatives, right? And profitability, etc., being diagnostic, and external things like M&A, market entry being the strategic initiatives. Yeah, within strategic initiatives, M&A and private equity and market entry are two different hearts. So in market entry, we always start off with market because that's the major unknown. 80-20 prioritization. Yeah, remember, right? Similarly, in M&A, fundamentally you can do whatever you want, right? You can literally have a big 10-branch structure. Yeah, but from a prioritization perspective, the biggest thing over here is evaluation of target. Coupled with that, the objective or the success criteria that has been given to you. We are not talking about any alignment. I have given you very hard criteria, 30% ROI in 3 years. You have to start off with target attractiveness and the valuation. It's a number target. It's a business metric in hand. Yeah. So ideally, the three branches that I would put would be the target attractiveness, synergies, and feasibility. Yeah. And under target attractiveness, I will mainly put financial and then some elements from Ahmad's structure on the non-financial like management and culture, etc. Under synergies, we'll talk about cost, revenue, and potential of cannibalization. This word, cannibalization, is extremely important in M&A. Okay? And the third will be feasibility. And here we'll check whether they have money, right? From a strategic alignment perspective, it is right or not. Operationally, whether they want to operate, and if they then whether they can operate or not, and probably people and processes, culture, that aspect. Okay, but that will be still a third branch. So target attractiveness, synergies, and feasibility would be a more than sufficient, amazingly easy structure. Okay. Are you with me, Ahmad, Amar? Do you agree with me?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Super. Let's move on. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So, next question. Yeah, those people who are not familiar with McKinsey format, it's an interviewer-led format. So, I have a question for both the candidates. So, the question to you guys is, how much should Lotus offer for Medicare? Okay, and what I'm going to open up now is two exhibits. Yeah, absorb these exhibits. Yeah, do your calculations. Yeah, and or first of all, if you want to explain your approach, even that's great. Yeah, and tell me how would you come up with the value for Medicare?
Yeah, so we do have here two approaches in order to see how much we need to pay for the target company, which is Medicare. The first one will be using the free cash flow of the firm, and the second one will be using the multiples. In order to know the value of this company, you have provided us with the discount rate and the growth rate. Since I'm assuming that this company is going to have constant free cash flow over the years. So what we can actually do here is dividing 400 million by 10%, which is actually 400 million divided by 1/10, and it will result in 4,000 million, which is actually equal to 4 billion. Now, going to the multiples approach, we can see that the average EBIT multiple is 5.33. What we can do here is multiply the EBIT multiple, the average 5.33, by our EBIT, which is 450 million. And this will result, can we assume a 5 instead of 5.33?
EBIT is 750 million, by the way, not 450.
Excuse me?
EBIT is 750 million.
Yeah, 750. 750. So we need to multiply this 5.33 by 750. And this would give us 750 multiplied by 10 is 7,500. Divided by 2 would be actually 3,500. So I'm assuming that the average value of this firm will be close to 3,600, which is actually compatible with our free cash flow
Can you do that again?
Yeah, what I've said that we can actually do 750 million times 5.33. What we can do here is multiply by 10 and then divide by 2. So 7,500 divided by 2 is 3,500. We are rest by 7. We do have now 750 times 0.33. So I'll assume that it is close to 3,700 million, which is actually close to our valuation with the free cash flow method.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do believe that this is not enough in order to see how much we need to pay for this acquisition, since we need to value as well the synergies, which is why our client Lotus wants to acquire this hospital. Do you have any more information regarding the synergies that we could obtain, such as revenue synergies, cost synergies, and possible cannibalization?
Okay, I'll get back to you. Amar.
So thanks for that, Gaurav. So my approach is very similar. I'll be using two approaches. One, the DCF. The second, the multiples approach. For DCF, as Ahmed rightly mentioned, the formula is we simply divide the free cash flow by the discount rate. So 400 by 10% will give me a valuation of 4 billion. In the second method, which is a multiple based, I would multiply the current EBIT with the average EBIT multiple of 5.33, which would give me a valuation of 4 billion exactly. So basis both the methods, I'm getting a 4 billion in valuation. So the next step, what I would want to understand is what are the expected inflows over the next 3 years, just to get back to our objective, which is 10% ROI. So do we have any information on that?
Okay. Good. So, actually, from both the methods, it is 4 billion exactly. Yeah, just check your calculation number. Yeah. And I would want you guys to, kind of read more into this chart. Yeah, this chart not only is giving you valuation, but it can give you much more than that. It can give you your way forward as well. Is there anything in the chart that is going to take you forward?
I would think I would take up the net income and the growth rate. I think these two factors can probably help me drive the growth for the next 3 years.
Growth rate is 0. That's why you guys take perpetuity formula, right?
Exactly.
Net income is going to help you.
So I would expect a net income of 750 over the next 3 years. So if I divide 750 by 4 billion, which would be, if I can quickly do the calculation.
Why do you need to do that complex calculation?
Sorry?
Why are you doing this calculation?
Just to get the ROI that I can expect from the project. So
is there any easier way of doing it?
Could be. So that would be 5.33 exactly. You know what? Absolutely, I think I can, because the way I derived the formula within the last stage, I think it gives me some insight on that 5.33 is the right number. So
it's not 5.3, by the way. It's going to be more than.
Sorry. So it will be around 20%.
Right.
So that's 20%.
Yeah. Okay. Ahmad, you have something more to say over here.
I want to look at the synergies. This is the value of the company on a standalone basis. However, we need to look at the synergies of this company. So what we are actually deriving from this company rather than actually looking on a standalone basis.
Agree. But I don't want you just to do the synergies, just completely blind. Yeah. I want you to know how much synergy you want to extract in order for this deal to be a good deal. Yeah. So Amar, just before we go to the next exhibit, a simple calculation could have been it's a 30% ROI on 4 billion. Basically, we are looking for ROI of 1.2 billion.
Yeah.
Out of, as you rightly calculated, 250 into 3, 750 million is coming out of net income in the numerator. So what is left is 450 million.
Yes.
Yeah. And as a result, you should be communicating to the interviewer that do you have any data around synergies so that we understand that we are going to get 450 million worth of synergies. Yeah. Yep. So read the case, take the hypothesis forward independently. Okay. Cool. My question to you is this. Imagine that they don't have any revenue synergies. Okay. There are only cost synergies that you are looking at. What I have given you is a very high level cost structure of Medicare, the hospital. Okay? Think about and tell me what kind of synergies we should be targeting when we are looking at Medicare.
Okay, thank you so much, Gaurav, for your question. So this pie chart here shows us the cost structure of Medicare, and In order to tackle which synergies we need to think of here, I will first suggest to look into the salaries and benefits, since it represents the biggest chunk of our of the costs of Medicare. It represents approximately 65% of the total cost of Medicare. Then I would move into what actually we could use from Medicare, from the supplies, then pharmaceuticals, then the facilities, in this order. However, I will tackle first the salaries and the benefits.
Okay. Do you have any specifics?
Yes.
What kind of
Yeah,
cost
in
of
specifics.
we have
Yeah,
here?
in
Yeah.
specifics, we need to understand the number of employees needed to run both companies, to see how much we can lay off from the Medicare, or for example, all from the other company, and save some costs from the salaries. As for the supplies, if we can actually take care,
Don't go to supplies. Within the employee cost that you are talking about, do you have any specific feedback or specific input? Which
no.
employees are you talking about? Whom should we fire?
Okay. So we need to think about the actual value of this employee he's delivering to the company, and how much he's costing the company. So,
That's too broad, Ahmad.
mm,
That's too broad. Can you be specific?
okay. I will think about the employees needed for both companies, where we can where we can find an employee who could can take advantage of him for Medicare and for Lotus. So, and any employee who is not needed for both companies, we should consider laying him off.
The first point I take, overlap. The second point again is too generic. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Let me give chance to Amar. Amar, you have any points on this?
My insights are sort of echoing Ahmad's as well. What I can see is salaries and benefits is a major chunk. That's the one I would want to understand more, because supplies, pharmaceuticals, facilities, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't see any reason why they should contribute any cost synergies there. Within salaries, the first thing what I'm trying to understand is, is there an insurance team within Medicare that focuses solely on the insurance aspects of it? And if so,
Good point.
can I use the a smaller team within? Probably I can restructure my teams within both the teams. Probably lay off someone from Medicare or probably from my own team. But considering this is a M&A case, I would assume I can probably cut short my staff within the Medicare staff. So the first thing, as I said, just to reiterate, how many people within the Medicare team focuses only on insurance? It can be collecting or paying whatever receivables or paying, but that's the first thing I would want to assess. Do we have any information on that?
Okay. So anything else? I don't have data on this. I just wanted to gather your ideas. Okay. So quick feedback before we get into the next question, and probably towards the end of the case. Yeah. I think everybody had great inputs, and I do agree that the support functions, is one of the big area that we should be, and it's a low-hanging fruit. In most of the M&As, we should be getting some support function optimization, be it IT, HR, be it admin, etc. So valid point for sure. Yeah. All of you spoke about people who are doing similar kind of function. Just a broader way of thinking about it is the overlap or handshake points. When two companies come together, originally, when they were not together, what were their handshake points? For example, as Amar said, claim department, hospital and insurance both have claim departments. When they are two separate companies, of course, they have separate incentives, and that's why they are literally parallel teams. When they come together, probably half of it can be made redundant. Yeah. So this is called process overlap. Okay. And the third point, the way you should be thinking about, I think none of you spoke about this, and we completely missed this point, which is a functional overlap. So when company A acquires company B, whatever A is doing, can it do for B? And whatever B is doing, can it do for A? Yeah. So if someone falls sick from insurance company, putting them in this hospital is probably not practical. But the other way around is a very good synergy. Means all the insurance requirement of the hospitals actually can be taken care of by Medicare. If you see this fat 4.3 billion of salaries and benefits, yeah, in medical staff, a huge component of their package is their own insurance. Everyone who touches the patient has some kind of insurance. There are hospital insurances. All these costs can now, that doesn't have to go out of the ecosystem, that will stay with Lotus, that will stay in the ecosystem. Yeah. So this is another functional overlap, will also give us another synergy. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So let me just wrap up this case by asking you, imagine that we did a quantification of all these synergies and it came out to be 450 million, and hence we are reaching this 30% ROI. Okay. And at this point of time, if I tell you to conclude the case and give the recommendation, how would you go about it?
All right. So basis the valuation exercise and the cost synergy evaluation that we've done, we recommend that we actually go ahead with the Medicare acquisitions, primarily because of the following reasons. One, our ROI target of 30% is met. And the second one, we have identified cost synergy opportunities within the salaries and benefit components. So this is a strong buy from our perspective. What I would like to point out is, if I had a bit more time, what I would probably analyze is there any revenue synergy opportunities? Perhaps because of this partnership, can I introduce a certain discount for Medicare clients or my clients, for example, and probably ramp up the revenue side? And the second one, I would want to also understand, is there a sort of integration factor that which would increase my cost? Because in my understanding, I think almost 6% of all M&A costs go towards integrating companies, and this is something I would want to assess further. So that's my conclusion.
Good. Amar, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sorry. I recommend our client to go forward with his plan and acquire Medicare, since this acquisition will bring him non-financial and financial benefits, such as a 30% ROI over the 3-year period, and it represents a good position in the value chain, where it will help him to put him in a good competitive edge over his competitors. However, there are some risks associated with this strategy, as we have mentioned that the synergies here are mainly about salaries and benefits and the overlap between the departments of these two companies. So I will go into actually analyzing if we are actually getting the right assumptions about these synergies in terms of numbers. And I will actually look into more the growth rate that we have applied in our case, which is 0%. It might not be 0%. I would look into it when we acquire the company. So on Medicare and Lotus, will the growth rate be 0% or more than 0%? And I would actually have a concern about the choice of the comparables of the target company. So the comparables might not actually be comparables in terms of business. So because I believe that each company is unique by itself. Now, as for next steps, I will do a profound analysis about the growth rate we have just discussed, merging those two companies together to see if our growth rate will be higher than 0%. And I'll start thinking about the integration strategy, because many M&A firms fail due to bad integration. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I have comments. Okay,
yeah.
Which I'll probably reserve. Let probably André come in, yeah, and give you guys feedback, and I'll also give a concluding feedback. Okay, André, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I would basically leave it to your take as an interviewer for McKinsey to provide the comments to Ahmad and Amar based on your own observations.
Okay, good. So I think along the way, the way it moved, I gave you feedbacks on question 1 and question 2 right there. Yeah. On the conclusion, yeah, I think Amar, you delivered quite crisp conclusion. So I'm happy with this part. Okay. I wonder whether you wanted to add something from the feasibility element as a risk. Okay, for example, one insurance company buying one hospital, yeah, in the ecosystem, what will be the reactions? Yeah, other insurance companies referring their patients to this hospital, or other hospitals in case there is some kind of kind of references to which insurance to buy from their side, what will happen over there? Yeah. Secondly, I will, in some of the countries, I will also question, regulatory bodies whether they will allow this kind of deal or not. Yeah. So I would add those elements from a genuine, pest kind of risk perspective. Okay. Coming to Ahmad's conclusion, Ahmad, I think you started pretty good on the conclusion, but the tail was too long and unnecessary. Yeah, the implementation success, etc. This is not in the scope. Okay, and whether this the multiples given to us, whether they were right multiples or not. Yeah, see, these are all part of the evaluation. Okay, this is a client provided data. Okay, of course we always test it. We do the sanity check. Yeah, but during the conclusion, you raising question on that data wouldn't help. Getting the point? Yeah. Over here, we are talking about an environmental risk or any peculiar risk that we might have. Yeah. Operational risk, yeah, is not a risk to be highlighted in a case. Okay. Otherwise, everything can be questioned, literally. Yeah. Right from the start to end, yeah, you can question anything and everything can be put in the risk. Right. So you need to be very cognizant what you are putting as a risk or concern. Okay. Secondly, what's the scope, especially with the senior interviewers in the room, principal partners. Yeah. If you try to expand the scope unnecessarily, they will be unhappy because in real life, if you do that, the client makes you do that extra work at the same cost. Of course, they won't be happy. Yeah. Keep correct. With go. It's a go no go case. So keep it with go no go. Right? If not this hospital, that hospital, or what will happen in the implementation, you can have another project on that and you can charge for that separately. Okay, you don't need to put it in this project. Okay, don't forget when principals and partners are sitting in front of you, this is a selection round and not rejection round. In order for them to like you, you need to show client readiness. Yeah, so all these sensitivities, yeah, you should be, and the maturity you should be actually showing in the case performance, along with what you already showed, like structured thinking and good calculations, etc., etc. Yeah, so just get that differentiation between the first and second round. Here, the maturity element is there, the client readiness element is there. Okay. Okay. But yeah, I think overall it's a good performance, and I think we could simulate the case end to end. So I'm happy with what we went through. Yeah. But yeah, André, I think the floor is with you now, and we can probably invite some comments and
not
questions.
yet, because the candidates still have to ask a couple of questions to the interview.
You're right. Thanks. So just to conclude and just to get it in a real spirit of the interview, yeah, the interview always ends with interviewer asking the candidate, do you have any questions for me? Yeah, so let me ask that. Thanks, André, for reminding.
Shall I go forward?
Yes, Amar.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me again today for my second round of interview. And I have a couple of questions to ask you. Would you mind?
Absolutely. Please, go ahead.
We currently live in unprecedented times due to the COVID, where it has affected all businesses around the world. And could you please tell me how did McKinsey overcome these challenges and maintain its position as a pioneer in consulting?
Okay, I'll answer that question together. Yeah, what's the second question?
The second question would be, how has your role evolved with McKinsey when you were working here at McKinsey, in order to get a sense of how employees improve their career at McKinsey?
Okay, good question. Amar?
Thanks for this, Gaurav. So thanks for this, Gaurav. It was very interesting to work with you through the case. So I have a couple of questions for you, and the first one is, with the advent of COVID, how has it impacted the sort of project mix at McKinsey? And towards the second question, I want to ask you, can you walk me through a project where you felt you had the maximum impact? And so I would love to learn more about your experience.
Okay, great. Yeah, so these are good questions. Imagine that in an interview, you are being given the answers to this. Of course, depending on the interviewer, the answer will differ. Yeah, so there's no gold, kind of lies in me giving these answers. But let me just take this opportunity to analyze these questions. Okay, so both of you started with the COVID question, okay, and uncertainty about it. Okay, very good questions. This is a type of questions where you are almost asking a specific advice. So it's a personal question. It's a customized question where the answer is not available on Google. Yeah, so an individual will be interested in answering. He will feel that it's a genuine curiosity. Okay. Second question, Amar, I like your question because now, before I end the interview, you are giving me an opportunity to be happy, to go into my positive memories and talk about the most impactful project. This is exactly how I recommend the clients to end the interview. Ask something which is almost, I call it semi-formal, yeah, about that interviewer specifically, and something positive which will make him feel happy. Because don't forget, after this answer, you will say bye-bye, and then the interviewer will start writing your recommendation or, whatever, no-go decision about it. So you want that interviewer to be happy. Okay. Ahmad, your second question, I think was very generic. And this is the answer that you can find on McKinsey website, or if you can Google it on 10 different platforms, you can find out the answer. So avoid this sort of questions. Because it might come across as you're just asking the question for the sake of it, yeah, or they might kind of term it as lack of research, and lack of research is correlated with lack of interest, because the assumption is if you are interested in the job, you would have done enough research, yeah, and you would not ask this kind of typical questions. Okay. But the first question was good from both the sides. Yeah, thanks. By the way, one point, and not just with McKinsey, but with most of the consulting company, we have a pretty peer kind of a culture. Yeah, the hierarchy is quite flat when it comes to the relationship between the employees. Yeah, so thanking 4 times in a case, yeah, is not a good idea. You thank me once, yeah. Don't be extra polite. Otherwise, it can be seen as something else. Yeah? You're trying to butter me unnecessarily. Yeah. So thank at the start. That's it, and probably thank at the end. Every time you shouldn't start the answer with thank you. It's a small point, but sometimes it makes a difference. Okay, André.
Sure. So basically, Gaurav, you have also already provided the feedback on the case questions. The only thing which I want to add is that you will, in these days, it's easier for you because you would probably even know your interviews in advance. So really invest time on Google, everything you can find about them, either on LinkedIn. Maybe you will find even some contributions, some articles, some studies which they have published. And then it will be very good to mention that, like, Ahmad, I have read, I have actually found it that you have written the study about sustainability in Saudi Arabia, and I found it extremely interesting, especially the data about blah, 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 blah. So how did you come up to these conclusions? What was exactly the background? Is it coming from a project or something like this? So you can be really specific, and then the person would be like really surprised and amazed that you have done your homework really properly and taken this professional / personal approach to the person, because you make to feel that person great. Or what I'm also asking Amar as one of my favorite questions. So when I was interviewing with the senior partner at Roland Berger, it was my final round. I have actually asked him, like, Wolfgang, you are now, I think that you are mid of 50s, and you have, as I see from your CV, you have been working for Roland Berger like since 98. I mean, I was at that age probably at school, so I think you have seen like all the ups and downs over the past more than 20 years with the firm. But I know that you have done many great assignments. But if you are now just looking back and like, get back and think about, what do you think, what was that project which you have accomplished which still makes you feel proud?
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Very nice, André.
This is exactly how I ended up. And yeah, no surprise that I got an offer of 95K a week later off. Basically, just wanted to give you a really brief overview. How do we help our clients? Together with Gaurav and the team of the business of consulting masters, we help all our clients along the entire application process. So we provide you the all-in kind of a support. We help you to pass every stage of the application process, and we work very close with our clients together to provide you help on every stage. So starting from setting the right objectives, like defining where do you stand right now, what is your background, current situation, and where do you actually want to go in the future? What kind of companies, in which functionalities, and also in which locations you want to join. So this we can define together with you. Then the next stage is basically to bring your documents up to the state and to make them consulting specific. Because nowadays the hiring process has changed. Firms are increasingly using AI technology in order to do the screening. I mean, just think about this number. McKinsey in Germany receives every year more than 12,000 applications, and only 200 people are getting their jobs, which means that only 1.6% of the applicants will actually make it. So this means that 90% of the applications will not even be seen. They will be screened out by AI technology, and maybe only 10% people will really look at that. So if you can if you can polish those CV and cover letter in a consulting way, then your documents become easily screenable. And the second way how to maximize your chances for getting the interview invites, which has become now even more critical, is all about networking and getting referrals. Because there is a big difference. Imagine you are you are Maria, an HR manager working at McKinsey, for example, and you have like these tons of applications. So 12,000 applications per year means that you need to review 50 applications on the daily basis. Of course, you will not do this because you will probably don't have enough time to spend it. Consulting firms like McKinsey are consulting firms and not recruiting firms. So therefore, but what if you would have had anyone in the firm, like a manager who's called Michael, and Michael can actually put a good word for Maria to you. And Michael can take your documents and forward them exactly to Maria, saying like, hey, Maria, just have a look. I think I found a great candidate who could be a good fit for you and for our company. Just look at the profile of Tiyari or Samuel or Atlem or Harish or Ahmad. What do you think about it? And then, of course, Maria, after she receives internal recommendation from one of the colleagues who's already working within the firm for 3, 5, or even more years as a manager or partner, of course, it has a great take for you and it maximizes your chances for converting it into the interview invite. So therefore, together with Gaurav, we have worked in consulting for more than 12 years, and we have helped already more than 500 people to get into the top-notch consulting offers all around the world. And we have a good network of all our friends, our former colleagues now working with different companies, as well as these 500 our mentees who are now working in consulting. And this is the network which we can utilize in order to help you to get your interview invites, especially if you are struggling with this. Then, of course, the key part also starts with the interview preparation and with the supervision for you throughout the entire interview phases. So from the stage number 1, from securing your interview invites, then through passing the tests for assessment, passing successfully first, second interview round like we did today, and final interview round with partners. So that at the end of the day, you get this email from Maria saying like, dear Ahmad or dear Harish, it was a great having you last Friday in our interview. My congratulations. We would like to submit you an offer. Could you please share your postal details and passport details with us to issue you the contract? Best regards, Maria from the HR team. So this is exactly until this phase we are helping you. So we, from the day number 1, from where do you stand at the moment, for the next few weeks and months until you will receive those job offers or job confirmations per email. This is exactly where we help. But we don't stop there because as Harish actually asked me, like, how was it possible that you did such a great career in just 18 months? Therefore, we want to share this know-how which helped me to receive the first promotion after 5 months and the second one after 12 months and so on and so on. And Gaurav also did a great career. We share all the know-how, how to manage yourself, how to manage others, how to manage clients, and how to manage your internal stakeholders, partners, project managers, how to get great feedbacks and appraisals, and how to get promoted very fast, and how to build a successful career. So this kind of support we provide in our VIP alumni program, where we also share the entire networking to more than 500 people whom we have already assisted. So our network becomes actually part of your network. And therefore, we help you to not only to get into consulting, but also to get on the right foot in the consulting so that you can get your promotion within the very first year. And we also provide you support during the onboarding phase. So before you actually start your career in consulting, after you received your offer, and then during the probation period. And of course, those who would like to stay longer with us, we always provide the tips to our clients on how to solve specific situation, how to manage different kind of people, and how to not really to have a good job, but how to become, how to get a profession, and how to really thrive in that very challenging, but also very rewarding career. So now I hope that you have a good understanding of how do we do our profession as coaches, how do we empower you to not only secure your interview invites, but also to convert them into job offers, as well as to become great consultants and build really very cool careers with the companies of your choice. Now let's speak about the bonuses, and we are also going to share another link for the free consultation call. So every participant of this call will basically receive several materials of us, but only those people who have actually stayed to that moment. So you will receive the brief presentation of this webinar, and you will also have, as a gift, we want to serve you, and we are sharing one of the greatest books in order how to crack the McKinsey cases with you, in case you are preparing for your first, second, or final interview round. We just want to give you a gift, a casebook for cracking McKinsey interviews for free. And then we will be also sharing the recording, the video recording of this webinar for those of you who have stayed so far, so that in future you can also recall it and maybe also recommend it to the friends of you and invite them also for our upcoming webinars. But what is even more important, now there will be the link shared in the chat for the free consultation call with our client manager, Alina, who has, thanks to you, Alina, who has moderated this webinar in such a great way. And together with her, you can basically figure out what and discuss your personal and current situation, your needs, and set up the proper stage before we start coaching with us together. Also, next week and after next week, so like every week, we have our consecutive sessions of the webinars. So next week, at the same time, next Wednesday, we are going to meet together to crack the first interview round at BCG. And at the end of the month, we will be cracking the first interview round at Bain & Company. So in case you are interested and you also consider those companies, feel free to register for those upcoming webinars using our website link, which will be appearing now also in the chat. So feel free to register to it. And we are looking towards to helping you to crack those interviews in a smooth way and deliver and help you to receive your job offers. Yeah, so here we are reaching our end, and on behalf of the entire team, on behalf of Alina moderating this discussion, Gaurav playing the interview, the tough interviewer today, and of course on behalf of Ahmad and Amar, our dear clients, as well as everyone else who has been attached to preparing this webinar, we would like to sincerely thank you for attending this great webinar. and we are looking towards to see you in our future webinars, as well as to speak to you in our free consultation calls and start working together in order to help you to fulfill your career dreams and get your next job offer in consulting in 2021.